When you open the Snowflake trial account with the account URL with the username and the password, you will be getting the screen like this. So you would be having left side, you will be having worksheets, dashboards, data, marketplace, activity, admin, help, and support. So I have 29 days left in the trial. Yesterday I have created. So now let's closely look at the URL. So this is the URL. Not sure whether you're looking at the URL or not. So let me open that in a other window. So this is the URL. So app.snowflake.com us-east2.aws, then pj29211 worksheets. So this is the URL. So if you closely look, it has AWS. That means the Snowflake instance is created on top of the AWS. US East 2, so that's the region within the AWS. So that means it's a cloud account you can access from anywhere. You should be having the internet ready. You should be having the browser. Then you can access this cloud data, Snowflake cloud data warehousing or the cloud data lake. But the PJ29211 is the account ID assigned to you during the trial account scenario. So this is all needed. So make sure you have to use the same URL because your account ID should be presented in the URL and you should be remembering your credentials. Boom, you can access from anywhere. All you need is the browser. Now let's see the home page. So if you click on this symbol, the top left corner symbol, snowflake symbol, you would be seeing the home page. All right, and this is the, so if you don't see it and click on the classic view, so that would ask again your credentials and you have to provide that, then the screen will come. Now you would be having options like database and shares and data marketplace, warehouses, worksheets, history, and account. So let's start with the database. Let me click that. So the database is the like any database instance, right? And you will be creating. Let's say, for example, you can create something like your development instance of the database and your test instance. Maybe and some special user requires a instance, and you can create that. At this moment, and I have two databases, and one is Snowflake sample data. Second one is the Snowflake. So I'm going back to the home page, clicking on the home page symbol. So you can see the left side, you will be seeing Snowflake and Snowflake sample data. So let me enlarge a little bit. So now if you see the small arrow symbol which is coming inside of these databases, they are nothing but the data will come inside into the databases, these databases, right? So let's see. So now in each database, I'm closing this Snowflake one. Let me open the Snowflake sample underscore data. So if you closely look at this database, so you would be having couple of the schemas, information schema, like a TP CDS schema, etc. So you can see the sizes as well. These are all the test databases created for your practice purpose. So let me click on the first one, TP CDS, Salesforce, or maybe Snowflake 100 TCL. So if I click on this, and you have so many tables. So here how it goes, a 3-level hierarchy, database and schema, and inside the schema table. So let's say if you take the real-time example, how you can relate this one is, let's say your development database. I'll create like this one, development database. That is my database name. So inside that, I have sales schema, I have supply chain schema, I have marketing schema, like that. So inside that, let's assume take the supply chain. You can have the table like inventory table, a shipment table, invoices table, like that. So this is how. So you will be having 3-level hierarchy: database and schema and inside the schema, you will be having the tables. So now, so your database name is Snowflake underscore sample underscore data, and your schema name is TPCDS SF100 TCL, and you have bunch of tables in it. Let me point on the call center table. So if you see the call center table, and it has the currently it is showing the metadata as well. You don't need to query, it shows the metadata as well, at least for the metadata. There are 60 rows are available, 18.5 KB data is available in it. So let me, this is a very small 100 rows table, right? So if you open TPCH, this one, if you click on the customer table, see the customer table data. It has almost a 10 GB of that data, huge data. That means Snowflake is providing you so a set of tables with the smaller size, with the bigger size, you can play with these tables. These are all the sample tables provided by the Snowflake. So to recap, so this is the home button, Snowflake home button, where you would be seeing this dashboard. Then you have the database. The two databases are created, like already created for you. If you want to create another one, you can clone it, and you can select and you can drop it, and you can transfer the ownership like that. So we just completed the databases. We have learnt about the database. To just recap, database is a instance, right? Higher instance. It contains the schemas, and schemas contains the tables. Now let's go to the shares. So after the database, we have shares, and we have data marketplace, warehouse, worksheets, and history. So as a beginner, and you don't need to concentrate much on the shares and data marketplace, but still if you want to learn, so shares will enable you to share the data or share the prepared data to someone else, right? So end of the day, whatever you, there are two things. One, you keep the table ready and someone will pull the data, or you will be sharing your data to someone else. Those are all the two things, right? And we call it as inbound and outbound. So if you want to share the data, so this is the tab you have to use. So there are inbounds, but right now, so there is a two shares are available. So if you see, secure share name is the account usage, and the database is Snowflake data that is available in the Snowflake database, and sample data that is available in the Snowflake sample data database. So this is shared by SFC samples, that is inbound share, right? And similarly, you can create outbound share as well, right? That is the share, but we don't need to concentrate much on the shares in the beginning. And similarly, data marketplace as well, and you would be having the Amazon marketplace. Let's say you have some software products and you want to sell those products, and now there are professional market peoples are available, right? And one of the very famous one is the Amazon marketplace. Like you put your the regular retail card product, and you can put the software products as well in the special area. Similarly, data marketplace is the one, and you want to sell the data and you want to utilize that data in a marketplace, you can do that. But it is, from the beginner context, it is a little advanced. So that's why we are not going in depth. So I'm going to another one, warehouses. Warehouse is very important topic to learn in the Snowflake. So I'll tell what is warehouse. Let's assume you have a table. That means storage. And you have a query. What is query? Query is a program, right? And let's assume if you have a SQL and behind the scenes it's a C language, then C should be executed on some system, right? So basically, when you execute the queries need the compute. But when you store the data needs the storage. So end of the day, if you see from the high level, data warehousing system needs two things. One is storage, second one is the compute. So now the warehouse talks about the compute. So you have the storage, so that will be stored somewhere else. Snowflake uses its own mechanism to store the data. They may using AWS S3, because if you see the URL, and we created the Snowflake on top of the AWS. They may take this entire table and they create the snapshot and they put into the S3. We don't know that. So that is totally abstract. From our view, all you see is the tables, all you see is the views, right? So, but compute is needed though. So, I'll tell in another context. Let's assume you have a table of 10 rows, maybe customer table of 10 rows. Select star from customer, where customer ID is equal to 101. So let's assume it has only 10 rows and it checks and it returns the output. It's so simple. But let's assume same customer table is having 100 million data. Executed, select star from the customer, it takes so much time. Why? It internally requires the compute. It needs the CPU, it needs the RAM, isn't it? So that RAM, that CPU will be defined inside this warehouse. It's a so important topic. But and in my laptop, when I write that statement, and I have my local databases, when I write a query statement, it won't ask all these things because, and you are using your laptop power. Why 8 GB RAM machine or 32 core CPU or 16 core CPU, whatever you are using, so that is using. But now here you have to tell, you have to reserve your warehouse. That's all it talks about. Warehouse talks about your compute power. There are different warehouses you can create. So if you see the current warehouse, my warehouse name is compute underscore WH. WH is the warehouse. So size of the warehouse what we created is X small, and I have one cluster and etc etc. Right. So let's go little in depth. Let's create a warehouse. If you see here, X small, the first one automatically created when Snowflake is launched. It is a minimum compute is added. Like you bought a laptop. Laptop is having 2 GB RAM and 500 GB 2 core CPU or 4 core CPU. So that's the minimum. So you can assume that's a X small, whatever it comes up in the trial account, right? And similarly, and it has different one as well. Medium, we have large, we have extra large, 2x large, 3x large, 4x large, 5x large. So if you see the small one, 2 credits per hour. Let's assume you have written a query. Your query is continuously running for 1 hour. So that takes 2 hours. When you create the trial account, you get 400 credit hours. You small means 2 credits per hour. So let's take one scenario. Let's say you have written a query. The query is executing continuously for 1 hour. So that consumes 2 credits from your bucket. So while you created the trial account, they will give 400 credits. Let's assume you continuously run for 1 hour with the small size of the warehouse. So 2 credits will be withdrawn from that. But let's assume you created a X large, which will give so fast results because it is a high CPU, high RAM. So, but if it runs for 1 hour, 16 credits will be withdrawn. Let's assume if you take 5x large, it is so large because so many missions will be added in the compute, but for 1 hour, 256 credits will be withdrawn. That's how it works. So you add more size for getting the faster results, and equally it takes more amount from your bucket. So that's how it works. The minimum clusters are 2. It's a clustering again. So you would be having one cluster and a unique cluster and 2 clusters, and 2 clusters again faster speed, and scaling policy is standard and economy